Welcome back to Sambo Stop Mo's, and today you're in for a treat because we have reached 1,000 subscribers. For the 1,000 subscriber special, we'll be working on not one but 3 custom ranch trucks, and we'll be looking at the highlights of what I've been working on for the past couple of months. So I actually got a whole mess of these Lockwood Angus kits and stuff. We'll be working with 3 today. One I assembled in another video, so you should really go check that one out. The rest will be used in future projects and future videos as well. So first up, we have a 1968 Chevy C10. This is all orange with some white wheels, trim, and an orange interior, and we are going to be transforming this into a pretty neat truck. This 69 F100 came from a movie, has a little bit of mud and splatter, a broken bumper which I fixed right there, and this will transform into something neat. I've had these trucks for a few years now because I had this idea for this video a while ago, and at the time of getting them, this was the only old Dodge I could find. The old Winnebago on the back is something special, and you can be sure that'll be in another video. However, the white walled tires and white bumper on this truck is gonna make it in for an interesting build. This is the traditional flatbed we'll be working with today. This will be going on the Ford truck, and it's just a little bit more of a traditional look. The parts just come in a little laser cut card. We just punch them out, and then there's a little piece of paper that acts as diamond plating. After the pieces are cut out, there's a few rough edges. I just like to sand them down to make them look better. If you're watching this and you're a faithful subscriber, I'd just like to say thank you because a channel like this would not be possible without you. I really do appreciate all your views, subscriptions, and everything. Now we got all that cheesy 1,000 subscriber stuff out of the way, let's take a look at these differences. So the modern flatbed is on the right. That has the little slats in, and it has a modern bumper. This is the flatbed with hay spikes that we worked on in another video. It's basically the same as the other, just hay spikes in the back for a bale to stick onto. Now for the fun part, we get to dig in and tear stuff apart, which is my favorite. I saw this screw, so I just started doing it and unscrewing it, and it didn't do anything, so I had to drill out the 3 rivets on the bottom, and that separated the chassis from the cab and the bed. The camper I took out of the bed just for fun. I tried to take it apart, there wasn't any interior in there, not that you would be surprised. If you grind off those 2 rivets, then the bed is separated from the cab, and we can set the bed aside because we'll be using the cab right here is about what we'll have to work with. Greenlight's detailed interiors are really what sets them apart. This one is pretty detailed itself. It has seat detail, dash detail, as do all 3. Here's a good view of the 3 rivets we need to drill out. We have to do this in all 3 trucks. So we're just gonna, I like to put a little water in there just as a little lubricant, and we just drill them out. Just to give you a little insight, part of the reason I chose to use these older trucks because of the popularity of the 1970 ranch truck build I did a little while ago. Here you can see we got the chassis back off, and there's those 2 rivets that we need to grind out. The seat does come out and it is totally red, so we're going to be doing a little bit of work to that. I just need to put my drum back in my Dremel. If you have a little chuck, it makes that easier. I have one, I just don't have it in at the moment. You can just grind those off, and that little tab that's on the truck will also need to come off. The interior comes out there, and there's a bit of detail on that we'll be working on. I did think it would be fun to drill out and drill off the hood, then you can kind of make it look like it's open. However, that doesn't really serve any purpose. Magic! I just learned that one a little while ago. So these are all the parts for the Ford. I figured you probably didn't want to see that again. So here's that little tab I was talking about cutting off. That's just kind of in the way at this point, so we're just going to get rid of it. It might be personal preference, but I think it just sets it apart when you grind off those little edges. Here I'm grinding out little pieces of spare die cast that we didn't really need. It's just to make it look a little better. I then took some black paint to the chassis, as usually underneath is black or rusty, and this won't make it stand out as much in pictures, and I think it actually did turn out quite well doing it this way. It just makes it blend in a little more. I then took some sandpaper and continued to do some weathering that this truck already had, just to make it look a little sun faded. I went around the edges and on the roof and the hood just to give it a little bit of more detail. I actually used the paint that goes on a Case Agra King, that color of white or cream, to paint the roof of the Chevy. I just thought that would make it look a little better, kind of like a two-tone, but I just did the roof, not the second color down below. Here on the seat, I just threw up some colors there to make it look like a tower blanket would have been put on. So here is the final look. It kind of sets it off a little bit more. I then painted the steering wheel and the glove box black. That really sets that off as well. I made a little bumper here for the Ford, and you can see that weathering we did as well. It's just a little piece of wire I bent up with some black paint on it, and that's just to make the front end look a little more interesting. I then painted the wheels black, and I experimented with some wire and styrene to make little mirrors. I did this for all three trucks, drilled a hole, and it just sticks in like that, and I think that's taking them to the next level. I wasn't happy with how wide and long this bed looked on the truck, so I ended up trimming it down. You can see the headache rack is really wide and it's really tall as well. So like magic again, I cut it down and I'm moving it, narrowing it. And in addition to that, we're also going to sand down the edges of the bed and stretch the truck out. I just glued in the side panels here, and I actually did trim down, like I said, the headache rack, and then I ended up using some wire and stuff to make that back again. I used some pieces of brass as a way to stretch the truck. I just cut it in half, put these pieces of brass there, and JB welded them in. One thing I will say is it did take a couple tries till I got that rear end lined up right. I had to take it off. I took a little bit of silver paint around the rim just to set that off a little bit. Kind of makes it look better than the all black or the all silver. I took a round file on the back axle of the trucks, and then I put the axle in a tube, put it on there, glued it down where JB welded it. And what this did was it actually acts as a lift kit. I kind of just came up with this on my own, and I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. I used some of the extra JB weld I had laying around just to attach the cab of the Chevy on there, just make sure it's straight, and the stance is so much better. You might have saw that on the Facebook page. If you did, you know that was a while ago, and if you didn't, go and search up Sambo's Stop Mo's on Facebook. Just in case you were wondering what it looked like to build one of those beds in 30 seconds, there you go. I had to jack up the back for the bed to sit on. I just used a couple pieces of plastic. Here, back on the Chevy, it's skipping around a little. I glued in the mirrors with some of my BCI Instaset glue. Glued the mirrors in there after I painted them silver. And the gap filling glue helps fill in the hole as it wasn't the exact same size. I then took some silver and painted around the window, kind of as the trim. And then I took my drum on all three trucks and I wire wheeled them down. I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do with the hood of this Dodge, except I wanted to do something. I started with sprinkling some powder on, and I did that all over the truck, and that really helped set it off in one aspect. I then took some silver paint on all the beds. I did this after I made that bed that I did in that other video I keep referring to. I like the way the silver looked. Back to the Dodge again, I took some brown paint and I just squirted a bunch on there. I thought, you know, it might be interesting if this whole hood is rusty. So what I did then was took an old paintbrush and smeared it around. I was really happy with the finished product. I did wire wheel it then. The way it got kind of that texture was I took the bristles and pounded it on. I then did some more wire wheeling because I kind of got to the point where I wanted to make this look weathered. I did add some dualies on, weathered them up, and I think that really sets it off as well. And the front wheels and the back wheels don't match as either of the tires, so I like that look. After I did all this, I really started to think, you know, this truck's gonna look neat. I wasn't originally gonna jack it up either, and I really think that set it off. I wanted to try something different again with this truck, and I glued in some windows. All these trucks come without the windows on the side. I thought, why not put them in? And it really doesn't add that much to it because it is clear, so you almost don't notice it, but it is another detail. On all of these trucks, I cut out some exhaust just from some little pipe and glued those in. This truck, the Dodge, actually got dual exhaust, so that's pretty neat. It just adds something else as well, just that open look when you're looking at the rear end. The big mirrors with supports going down all over the door in these old trucks always fascinated me. So I made a simpler model of those, just bending a wire. You saw I drilled a hole in there, glued the wire in, and then put this piece of plastic there. If we go back to the Chevy, I accidentally got some paint on the roof, so I went and I just matted around a paintbrush and got that effect back on the roof, and that's what I did on the hood there. For this Dodge, I thought it would be really cool to put a winch on there. This came off of a flatbed from another truck I did, so I just broke the winch off and I put some glue there, and that really just dresses up the front end and makes it nice. If you notice, I painted the mirrors black. I thought it would be interesting to try something new, and once again it paid off. The only thing I ended up doing to the interior here was putting a little spool wire on. I just took a piece of wire and rolled it around a handle of the paintbrush and then put that in there with a little glue. I did paint the back of the mirrors silver, I do believe, and then it was time to put this cab on. You can see that nice look of the jacked upness, and then we put the bed on as well. This bed we didn't trim down, we just did that on the Ford, how I was talking about that. So this one's wider and sticks out some. I was having a little trouble with my super glue here, and it kind of squirted out a lot. So I ended up taking a straight pin and I glued the bed and the cab down at the same time with all that same glue. I do have a little straight pin I put in my glue, and for some reason it still got clogged up, so I don't know. You can't ever win. That's probably the advantage of using a smaller thing of glue. While we're in the gluing mood, I did put the bed of the Ford on. You can see for the headache rack, I took a piece of wire and bent that over and then put some of that bridle stuff on kind of as the back gate or grate or whatever you'd like to call it. For the windshield wipers, there's like a little indent there. I just took my Sharpie and colored that in. Adds a little bit of detail. I then put the Chevy bed on. This one is just very basic, nothing special to it. Always just make sure it's lined up, as it's hard to see that. Look at it from all angles. You can see here I adjusted it. For the Ford, we did make that bumper. I'm putting some more flexible glue on, so that way if the bumper gets bumped, it doesn't snap off. It would just kind of loosen itself a little, but it would still stay on, probably for a couple of bumps and drops and tugs, as my experience has it. There you have it, folks. Thank you so much if you made it this far in the video. I really appreciate you, and that means that you are really what makes this channel possible. So for this Chevy, as we just go around, we put some mud on the roof, we jacked it up, put some mud on the wheels, detailed up that seat in there, painted the steering wheel black. We added some mirrors, which really set it off. We put a Lockwood Angus modern flatbed on the rear. We painted that a little bit of silver, and we put some taillights on there. Those will probably be different in the future, just so you know. We put an exhaust on, custom, all of that. It is jacked up like I said, and it is looking pretty sharp if you ask me. We did keep the wheels and tires the same, however I think it was worth it because it still looks pretty good that way. For the Ford, we added a bumper on the front and glued that on so it is a little bit of flex. We painted the wheels black, then painted the rim silver again. We added the mirrors. We stretched it, put nice taillights on the rear, added a shortened or skinnied up the bed, added that headache rack in there. Like I said, we put the mirrors, and that is about what makes that. We also did do a little bit of sanding down on the body to make that look nice as well. And for this Dodge, I was really doubting it at first, but it turned out excellent. We added a winch to the front, painted the bumper black, switched the tires around so the white is hiding, painted the hood so it was dirty and rusty, added some mud and rust at the wheel well, put this nice Lockwood Angus bed on that we did before, put dualies on and weathered up the dualies, put a dual exhaust on, put fancy mirrors. We painted them black instead of silver. Finally, we put those side windows in instead of the opened windows, and we put some rust on the roof, and that kind of finished off the total look for the Dodge. I was really doubting that at first, but it came out really nice. So here is the 1,000 subscriber special, Ranch Truck Special. I really can't thank you all enough for all subscribing and watching these videos. There's only so much more to come. If you stay tuned in the next week or two, you will be able to possibly have a chance to purchase one of these trucks. Is that video right there? I threw in that other ranch truck I made. I thought that would be fun. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Sam. Make sure you like and subscribe. Thanks for getting us to 1,000, and thanks for stopping by.